Blackwood's a pretty interesting character. From what I've seen in the SCP universe, I've done a ton of reaction videos that have either mentioned him or made reference to him in some part of a story arc relating to a variety of different SCPs. Now, Lord Blackwood is considered a gentleman, an explorer, and a sea slug, whatever that means, but a very dedicated patron and friend of mine from the channel named King Dogspeed recommended this playlist for me and actually put it together and compiled it. So thank you very much for putting this together. I want to take the first 3 videos that serve as sort of an introduction to this series and kind of go from there to really dig into the lore surrounding this iconic character in the SCP universe. So there's by a variety of different creators. Today it's going to be the Eastside Show SCP, an old school channel that's been doing SCP content for a long time, the Vulgan with a small addendum, and SCP Explained story and animation. So without further ado, guys, let's get into the reaction. Make sure to subscribe to all the channels that I list in the description below, and let's get on with the video. Starting off with the Eastside Show SCP-1867, a Gentleman Object Class Safe. This is a reading, and it's a very, very old video, so the quality may not be on par with what he does today.
Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1867 is to be kept in a 40 by 70 by 30 cm aquatic specimen tank.
So an aquarium.
Security measures are necessary. SCP-1867's environment and the care thereof are identical to that of non-anomalous members of the species. Recovered items relating to SCP-1867 are to be placed in Secure Storage Vault 16.
Recovered items?
Access to these items and to SCP-1867 itself is with permission of an appropriate Level 2 staff member.
So he makes items?
2012. SCP-1867 has requested access to a selection of novels and nature journals. Request was denied.
Okay.
SCP-1867 is a neuter branch of the species Nimbrata cubraniana.
Okay.
Neon slug, measuring 11.7 centimeters or 4.6 inches in length. There are no physical differences between SCP-1867 and any other members of its species.
Regular old snail or slug.
Is sapient and capable of telepathic communication with individuals within 5 meters.
Really cool.
It identifies itself as Lord Theodore Thomas Blackwood, a British explorer and naturalist. No such individual appears in any municipal records.
Right.
SCP-1867 speaks with terminology and style appropriate to late 19th century England, and is generally friendly and cooperative with researchers.
It's gotta be charming.
SCP-1867 makes repeated claims of past exploits and accomplishments, including service in the Second Opium War, expeditions to remote regions of the world, and encounters with various rare creatures and peoples.
Right.
Despite the questionable validity of many of its claims, SCP-1867 has shown in-depth knowledge of geography, zoology, botany, archaeology, anthropology, and linguistics relating to its claimed regions of exploration,
and experienced,
as well as more esoteric fields such as obscure mythology, mysticism, and cryptozoology. However, SCP-1867 does not seem to realize or willfully ignores any events or information dating after approximately 1910. When requested to give proof of its exploits, SCP-1867 provided an address near England, claiming that it would be more than willing to donate its collection. Investigation of the address led to a cottage owned by one Miss, who claimed to be keeping the house for Lord Blackwood. Further questioning failed to reveal any details of SCP-1867's nature or origins beyond what information SCP-1867 had already provided. Miss
what the hell?
Died of heart failure 5 days after Foundation agents began investigations. Investigation of the cottage revealed an underground vault containing over 3,000 artifacts, zoological and botanical specimens, a library containing over 5,000 items, and a functioning, if outdated, laboratory.
So, this snail couldn't have done all this as a snail. He refers to himself as a gentleman. So did he like get polymorphed at some point or something? This is interesting, man.
Items of particular note include 116 unknown species of plants, 107 unknown species of insects, 28 unknown species of lizards, 23 unknown species of fish, 14 unknown species of amphibians, 12 unknown species of mammals,
some serious
pertaining to 8 unknown species of dinosaur,
exploratory achievements,
12 unknown species of prehistoric mammal, artifacts belonging to 29 unknown indigenous societies, 35 handwritten journals containing records of events described by SCP-1867, The accounts are generally identical, save some slight variation and exaggeration on the part of SCP-1867 in retelling, and have been dated to the appropriate time period of the events described. 20
Okay.
kilograms of processed opium, collection
Cool.
of firearms of make and model not correlating with any known manufacturers, including 3 widebore muskets marked as Dr. B.T. Moss effective particle destabilizers. These items are functional. Detailed globes of Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the Galilean moon,
Alien
accompanied
weaponry.
by notes detailing possible paths of surface exploration. A heavily modified carriage containing instruments of unknown purpose. A note attached to the door reads, "On the Fritz, speak with Henry," in handwriting matching that of the journals. 4 agents were killed after activation before the object was destroyed. When questioned about the item, SCP-1867's response was, "I did warn you to be careful around my collection. That bloody thing nearly took my head off back at Woking in '97 when I found it."
What?
02. The following interview is dated 0845.
So instead of going forward with the Eastside Show's interview portion of the SCP reading, this is from the Vulcan, which is voice acted, and it looks to be the same interview that is posted on the first video. So we're going to use this instead as the segue.
Good morning, 1867.
Ah, good morning, Doctor. Wonderful to see you.
That sounds like he would.
Have yourself a seat.
That's what
Now,
he would sound
If I
like.
remember correctly, the last time you were here, I was telling you about the time I was captured by the Yubala tribe of the Congo.
Actually, I had some questions about your story. You see, no such tribe exists.
Of course not. There weren't any of the Yubala left after the village was attacked by the Mekele Membe.
So he's calling his credibility
I still
into
regret
question.
not being able to bag that monster when I had the chance. It is a persistently elusive creature.
1867. We have no actual proof that what you're saying is not just an elaborate fiction. The artifacts and records we found in your vault could easily be fakes.
Nonsense! I would never fabricate any of my work. Why, it's against the very heart of being a naturalist. While I'm repeatedly amazed by your institution here, you seem to be missing the explorer spirit. When I scaled the Himalayas in search of the monks of the Golden Mountain, did I worry about what others had said about them? Of course not. I went and found out for myself.
You do realize you're a sea slug, right?
Good heavens, boy. Have you been drinking? That's utterly ridiculous. If you can't be bothered to be sensible, then I have no reason to speak with you. Go get yourself a nice cup of tea and sober up.
Hi there.
He called him a
Vulcan
drunk.
here. Would you?
Oh my god, he called him a drunk. So he's delusional. He doesn't think he's a sea slug. So maybe he wasn't polymorphed, or maybe this is all fabricated. This is interesting all the same. So outside of just trying to prove though, why would you disbelieve if a sea slug is telepathically communicating to you all these fabricated stories? Like, why would he telepathically communicate fabricated stories? Isn't this believable? This is unbelievable in general. It's a sea slug telepathically communicating with you. It's not like just some guy talking to you about, boasting about some stuff that might not be true. This is an anomaly. I don't know, man. Okay, so the sea snail's fantasy is the exploring. SCP Explains version of it. This is going to be probably a little bit more in depth. So we're going to go from
The
here.
year was 1857, and the Second Opium War was raging
Probably a
between
little
China
loud.
and the combined forces of the English and French.
So this is
It
the
was one
Opium
of the
War.
many bloody colonial wars fought over resources like tea, sugar, and the intoxicating opium poppy. It was a war fought by peasants and noblemen alike. One of these aristocratic soldiers was the noble Lord Theodore Thomas Blackwood, the quintessential
is
English gentleman
not a
and
snail.
explorer. While his fellow soldiers cowered behind cover, Lord Blackwood charged into the fray, shouldering his rifle and firing his pistol into the crowd of opposing soldiers.
All
It
right.
was the Battle of Canton, one of the most crucial battles of the entire conflict. The French and English were laying siege to the city of Canton, also known as Guangzhou, to prove their military dominance and capture an important Chinese government official. Lord Blackwood led the charge on horseback. Every bullet seemed to find the heart of a foe. He was a true hero among men, a gentleman warrior with class, refinement, and style. And it would be thanks to his expert leadership and marksmanship on the field that the Allied European forces won the battle decisively. Lord Theodore Thomas Blackwood is a name that deserves to be counted among Lord Horatio Nelson, Sir Francis Bacon, and Sir Walter Raleigh. In addition to being a skilled and honorable fighter,
know any of those
Lord
names,
Blackwood
but
is a consummate explorer, naturalist, and frontiersman. During his heyday, he traveled perhaps further than any man across the known and unknown corners of the world.
He's a heck of an explorer.
Biological and anthropological discoveries that should have reset the course of society forever.
Wow.
And yet, you won't find any records in the history books of Lord Theodore Thomas Blackwood, nor will you find any grand oil paintings or dedicated wings in British museums. This is because Lord Theodore Thomas Blackwood is a 4.5-inch telepathic neon sea slug, and he's known to the SCP Foundation as SCP-1867.
So maybe it's not a polymorph thing.
Lord Blackwood belongs to the species Nembrotha kubariana.
So he doesn't admit to
a
it.
Variable neon slug.
He's in disbelief.
He's kept in a standard aquarium in a Foundation containment site, and is physically no different to any other member of his species. What makes Lord Blackwood unique is his powerful telepathic abilities, specifically the power to communicate by speaking directly into people's minds. And what's more, he's extremely talkative. But to what extent is anything that this anomalous sea slug says true? Or is he just like SCP-082 Ferdinand the Cannibal?
Oh God.
And pathological. It isn't committed to record how exactly the Foundation discovered Lord Blackwood. Perhaps a local aquarium worker worried they were going insane when they heard the voice of a 19th century English nobleman ringing in their ears whenever they were cleaning algae out of the tank. Maybe Lord Blackwood was found by SCP Foundation divers who are constantly combing the ocean for anomalous creatures and activity. What we do know is that Lord Blackwood is an incredibly strange and mysterious individual.
Yeah,
he claims to have visited locations all around the world and encountered rare societies and creatures. The Foundation was skeptical about a number of Lord Blackwood's more outlandish claims on account of him being a sea slug, but he does appear to have the knowledge to back up his supposed experience.
And some artifacts,
Lord Blackwood have shown that he's extremely knowledgeable in the areas of geography, zoology, botany, archaeology, anthropology, and linguistics relating to his claimed regions of exploration, as well as more esoteric fields such as obscure mythology, mysticism, and cryptozoology. In other words, if Lord Blackwood hadn't gone on his escapades around the globe throughout history,
how would he know
all
all this?
Come to possess this wide variety of information? The Foundation was getting frustrated and began to probe further into the personal life.
I wonder if his consciousness didn't somehow get moved into this, or some sort of reincarnation happened. You know, in the long version of the story, we're gonna find out in this series, though. This is really interesting and very bizarre.
Life of the most interesting gastropod in containment. Lord Blackwood, under questioning, was always polite and amicable with Foundation staff. He seemed to display no real knowledge of the fact that he himself was a sea slug, going as far to accuse other people of being crazy or drunk when they brought the fact up to him. While none of Lord Blackwood's tall tales ever extend past the year 1910, he told fanciful stories of exploring the Americas and of his involvement in the Second Opium War on the side of the English. Naturally, the Foundation wanted proof. When they pressured Lord Blackwood on this, something even stranger happened. He gave it. The Lord told his interviewers that he would happily donate his collection to them if it gave them cause to believe what he was saying. He gave the baffled Foundation researchers the address of a cottage in England where they could find the secrets to his bizarre and mysterious past, and local agents in the area followed up on the information. Upon investigation, Foundation field agents did indeed find the cottage that Lord Blackwood had specified. It was being maintained by an extremely old woman. When questioned about her presence there, she said that she was keeping the house for Lord Blackwood, and gave no more useful information.
Her if
incidentally,
he was a snail.
It appears that this singular purpose was all that this old woman was living for. She abruptly passed away from heart failure 5 days after the Foundation commented the cottage. Whether anything
Like the
truly
keeper of the
anomalous
grail.
caused this, we still do not know. At first, the cottage seemed normal, until the field agents discovered a secret basement housing Lord Blackwood's collection. They were amazed at what they saw. The basement consisted of zoological and botanical specimens, over 3,000 artifacts, a library containing over 5,000 items, and a functioning 1800s scientific laboratory. It took about 3 weeks for Foundation agents working round the clock in shifts to remove all the items from Lord Blackwood's
Can you imagine the
mysterious
value of that?
and what they found raised even more questions.
Wow.
The collection included, but was no means limited to,
Like all
116
the,
unknown species of plants,
like all the species and stuff.
107 unknown species of insects, 28 unknown species of lizards, 23 unknown species of fish, 14 unknown species of amphibians, 12 unknown species of mammals, fossils pertaining to 8 unknown species of dinosaur, fossils pertaining to 12 unknown species of prehistoric mammal, and artifacts belonging to 29 unknown indigenous societies. That's a lot of unknowns.
Right.
But wait, there's more. His collection also contained a collection of seemingly unknown firearms, including 3 wide-bore muskets marked as Dr. B.T. Moth's effective particle destabilizers.
And they look like
detailed
1800
photos of
century
Mercury,
guns?
Venus, Mars, and the Galilean moons, accompanied by notes detailing possible paths of surface exploration, a heavily modified carriage containing instruments of
1800s.
unknown purpose.
Did
A
they
note
have
attached
that
to the
type
door
of
reads,
tech?
"On the Fritz, speak with Henry," and
Or
a highly
technology?
dangerous and seemingly anomalous machine that killed 4 Foundation field agents before it was destroyed on site. And when questioned about this little fiasco, Lord Blackwood responded,
Should have been
"I
more
did warn
careful."
you to be careful around my collection. That bloody thing nearly took my head off back in '97 when I found it." However, there was one thing recovered from Lord Blackwood's collection that was perhaps more interesting than all the others. 35 handwritten journals containing recordings of events described by Lord Blackwood in his grandiose tall tales to the Foundation researchers. The accounts are generally identical to the stories he had told, save for some slight variations and exaggerations on the part of Blackwood in the retelling.
I mean, if he
Most
did write them
interestingly
as
of all,
fiction,
all
though,
of these journals
wouldn't
have been
know.
dated to the appropriate time period of the events described by Foundation scientists. While his stories are too numerous to all be shared here, there's one that perfectly sums them all up.
Okay.
Lord Blackwood's account of a possible encounter with SCP-1000, also known as Bigfoot, in Seattle during the mid-1800s. Lord Blackwood, seeking to explore the so-called New World of North America, embarked with an assistant and an indigenous American guide to the Pacific Northwest in search of the legendary Sasquatch.
Right.
The trio was headed for Mount Rainier, then known as Tahoma. During the journey, Lord Blackwood found a young fox caught in a trap that had been set by a local tribe. He took sympathy on the animal and freed it, allowing it to run away to safety.
What a guy.
That night, he and his assistant met up with the rest of his guide's tribe.
Foxes are so
and they
cute,
settled down
too.
for the evening. However, things took a disastrous turn when the camp was raided by a rival tribe.
Right.
Almost everyone was slaughtered in the process, and Lord Blackwood and his 2 companions were
Taken
hauled away
hostage?
by the enemy tribe for a sinister purpose: sacrifice
Oh!
to a violent local deity.
Not
As it turns
good.
out, the creature that this tribe worshipped was the very same one Lord Blackwood and the others were trying to
The
find.
Bigfoot.
A particularly large and aggressive Sasquatch. Each night, a different sacrifice was made to the Sasquatch. The victim would be placed near a forest clearing while the tribe played a primal song, and the Sasquatch would emerge from the trees to devour its prey. The first night, it ate the assistant. The next
Wow.
night, it ate the guide. And then, it became time for the sacrifice of Lord Blackwood himself. As
Dude.
Blackwood was presented for sacrifice, he accepted his fate. But instead of the Sasquatch, a legion of woodland animals emerged from the trees.
Oh.
Foxes, elks, raccoons, and more.
Did they know?
themselves painted with tribal symbols. The animals seemed to be on Lord Blackwood's side, and
Right.
attacked the tribespeople who had been holding
'Cause he
them
took
captive,
care of the
giving
fox.
Blackwood the chance to flee into the forest
Yeah.
in chaos. Later, these same animals would find Blackwood again and present him with things his captors had stolen.
Wow.
An elder fox also gave him a letter, proclaiming him a knight of their people now. He was allowed safe passage back to a nearby settlement, at which point he wrote to his financiers back in England, explaining the situation and asking for more money to perform further expeditions into the Tahoma region. The
This is
whole
getting
incident
really
had
interesting.
only increased his thirst for adventure and exploration. Whether this tale is actually true, or just a bizarre colonial fantasy from the pathological mind of a telepathic sea slug, we may never know. But it doesn't make it any less interesting.
Right.
To this day, Lord Blackwood continues to be a perplexing but fascinating anomaly. He may not be the most dangerous, and he may not be the most useful.
That's okay,
either,
though.
But there's no denying that perhaps we'd all like to sit next to his tank for a couple hours one day and hear him spin a good yarn over a warm cup
with some
tea.
coffee.
Now go check out SCP-1.
So I've checked out the Bigfoot stuff, guys, and it's really, really good. The idea behind how you like the new background, by the way. The idea behind getting to the Bigfoot scenario was really, really cool. And the Bigfoot is an extinct tribe that's already been explained by the SCP universe. So it's worth going check into that. And I have a reaction video for it that I'll link as well. But in general, this communing with animals that happened towards the end of the third episode might explain what may have happened and why he's in snail form now. It doesn't explain it, but it teases that it could be a possibility. So maybe he was a human or humanoid explorer at some point that got changed into this snail. I don't know, but this is such an awesome and fascinating adventure, guys, and I hope y'all liked it. Listen, make sure to check out the description for all of the links to these awesome creators, and thank you very much, King, for all of the compiled stuff. We're gonna continue on this as well, guys, in the next couple videos. I hope y'all really enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to me and all the creators mentioned in this reaction video. If you want to check out my reaction on SCP-1000 the Bigfoots, make sure to click this link here.